I'm Ed Highland. This is ASA TV, and I'm joined now by Dr. Jeff Jacobs, who is the president of the Florida Society of Anesthesiologists. Thank you so much for coming by and joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Wanted to talk about ASA advocacy, and wanted to get into a little bit of how ASA has been able to really put things together in the state of Florida, and maybe you can kind of help us here with the case that kind of set a course here for us.
Well, last year in the Florida legislature, there was a bill that was proposed that give all advanced practice nurses independent practice. So that would mean they could open up their own shops, and in the anesthesia world, they'd be in operating rooms with no anesthesiologists around, no supervision. Surgeons wouldn't even be able to oversee what they're doing. They'd be on their own. We, in the Florida Society of Anesthesiologists, we're very in favor of the anesthesia care team model. We have nothing against nurse anesthetists at all. We work with nurse anesthetists, anesthesiologist assistants, but we think the safest model is physician-led anesthesia. And so to that end, we rallied our troops and advocated against this bill. What was very useful from the American Society of Anesthesiologists is that they have a repository of all the information, because we're not the first state to encounter these kind of problems. So they were able to collect and share with us a lot of data from other states, similar battles, so we didn't have to proverbially reinvent the wheel. So we used some of their strategies, we used some of our own strategies that would be unique to Florida, and we're able to halt this bill in committee. But that's the kind of thing that we could turn to the ASA and do. So when the rank and file anesthesiologist says, what does the ASA do for me? Gee, I think this is a pretty good example of what the ASA can do for you.
Can you give us an idea of how critical it is in Florida and perhaps other states as well to have someone in the profession actually helping, assisting the legislators when these kinds of bills do come up?
That's a great question. The reality is legislators, so representatives and senators, they come from all walks of life. They're insurance salesmen, own car dealerships, attorneys. Very few are physicians. And what's even more astounding is those physicians who are in elected officials, they're not anesthesiologists, and many physicians don't even know what anesthesiologists do. So no one can tell our story as well as an anesthesiologist. We understand what we do, we can give narrative and explain the importance of our role, and then they can understand what's happening. If no one speaks for us, someone will speak incorrectly about us, and that's really what happens.
You wear a lot of hats, I mean, let's put it that way.
And yet my hair's still okay, right?
Well, it is, and we want to find out why it's important to participate in that way. I mean, there are members who kind of sit there and take the ride, so to speak, but there are others like yourself who get involved and really are making a difference in the profession.
Look, I fully understand that not every anesthesiologist has the time, the interest, or the ability to get involved to the extent I have. But what's really important is, as an anesthesiologist, if you can't make the trips to Tallahassee or Washington, D.C., you enable your partners to be able to. You give your PAC money so people who are in the know and who are involved can make the correct donations. That you support your partners, that they can go to committee meetings within your own facilities. The reality is that when laws get passed, it gives an opportunity for rules to be implemented. And if anesthesiologists are not at the table making those rules, then the rules will most likely become unfavorable. So it's so important, not at the DC level only, not only at the Tallahassee level, but at your own institutional level, to be involved with the rulemaking process, with committees. So the idea of going to the operating room and taking care of your patients excellently and then going home at the end of the day, you have to kind of do a little introspection and say, there's got to be more. We've got to provide more value than just great quality care. And that more value is either by you or your partners, allowing them to do some of the work.
2 little words: be involved.
Be involved.
Dr. Jeff Jacobs, thank you so much for coming
by.
It's my
pleasure.
And joining us right here on ASA TV.